Hey, Warrior Saints. Glad to have you beautiful people in with us. I'm the special guest because now, after this weekend, I've been ordained to the Holy Diaconate in the Orthodox Church and wearing a new shirt. Feels a little different. Feels a little weird. But it is what it is. We're getting used to things. It's a beautiful time. Thank God everything was wonderful this weekend. Anyway, it's please keep me in your prayers as my wife and I and my family, we embark on this new journey in this new role that I will have. It's crazy to think about, especially in light of what we were talking about yesterday and as we're looking forward. Well, looking forward, but also looking backwards, right? Father Chris talked about how we measure success yesterday. And how are we measuring growth? And how are we measuring who we are and what we're doing? And without looking backwards, we can't see how far we've come. And that is true because when we set these goals for ourselves, one of my favorite phrases Father Chris uses is big, hairy, audacious goals, BHAGs. Set your goals large and get after them. We've been reading this book, 10X is easier than 2X, which gets into that same kind of mentality that we want to get out there, get after it. Set the goal high, set the bar high, and then run and get it. And sometimes those things seem unattainable. They seem so far away. They seem even out of reach a little bit. Because when we set those big, hairy, audacious goals, they're big, they're hairy, they're audacious, they're insane. And to get there means that we have to go above and beyond where we're comfortable sometimes. We have to get out of that comfort zone. And it always seems like it's so far away. But when we're able to look back and see where we've come from, then we know that those goals that are so far ahead of us are not as far. Sometimes they're as far ahead of us as where we've already come from. And that gives us a little bit of encouragement, and that spurns us to go a little bit faster. That pushes us because we've already done so much and we already know what we've done. We can now just put in a little bit more and we're going to get where we're going. And I think this is kind of what is going on, what we hear about in Matthew chapter 7. It's at the end of the Sermon on the Mount, and he's talking about judging others, right? This is where we get, why do you see the speck that is in your brother's eye, but do not notice the log that is in your own? Like, it's talking about judgment and not looking at what everyone else is doing. And I think this is really where we need to understand who we are. Because if we're always looking at what everyone else is doing, then we're never going to understand how we are measuring success. We're never going to really understand that the person that we are supposed to measure, the person that we are supposed to be basing our success off of, is our own growth. Without our own growth, we're not going to have any of this stuff going on. Without our own growth, we're not going to actually be able to know what is happening. Because if we're always looking at what others are doing, we're always going to think the grass is greener on the other side. We're never going to get to where we need to go. And in that frame, let's now hear what St. Matthew says in chapter 7, verses 1 and 2. Judge not that you be not judged. For with the judgment you pronounce, you will be judged. And here's the kicker. And the measure you give will be the measure you get. If you are only basing things off of what other people have done, you're always going to be chasing after something. And that something is always going to be unattainable. Because it means you are not willing to do the work that you need to do to actually get there. You're so focused outside that you don't see that you need to put in the effort inside to get to where you need to go. Rather, put in the measure that you need to put in so that you can get to where you need to be. So that you, looking backwards, seeing how far you've already come, can push yourself that little bit farther and make it across that finish line. We'll be back tomorrow with more, and until we see you then, you keep walking on the way of the Warrior Saint.